See this house right back here? Reminds me of the very first house I ever bought. It was built in the 1950s, and you know what? It was a crazy amount of work, a lot of work, but it also made me a lot of money. And that really kind of begs the question, where are you gonna make more money as an investor? On an old home or a new home? Turns out there's 7 factors that you should consider, and today I'm gonna teach you all of them.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Man, with so little inventory available in the market, this debate has arisen. Man, there's not a lot of houses available. Now there's these old homes, but then there's these new homes, and I like the old or I like the new. Which one's better? How are they different? Is one more valuable? Should one be charging more? Do they rent the same? You know what? I think that's a really good question. Turns out there's actually 7 factors to consider whether you should be buying an old home or a new home, and here they come. Let me tell you why this debate is coming up. These are 2 homes right now that are listed in my backyard here in Utah. They're not far apart from each other. This one on the left, built in 1928. This one on the right, built in 1992. Like, we're talking about like 7 decades. And yet in the price point, look at this. They're both roughly 1,500 square feet. And yet this older one is $285,000 and the newer one, $300,000. Think about that for just a second. 70 years apart, but otherwise based on square footage and price, they kind of look like 6s. Which house would you take?
I like this one.
Man, when I got into the game of real estate, some of my very first deals were like really old homes. I actually bought a house that was built in 1890 something, right? Like it was well over 100 years old. And as you can imagine, there was some deferred maintenance issues on that bad boy, had to be repainted. And I'd bring out an electrician and be like, hey, can you like fix this wiring problem? And he'd be like, son, that's like on some old fuse system, and I don't know how to update that with tearing out all the sheetrock and redoing the whole thing. And it was just kind of a nightmare with a house that old. Not saying that was necessarily a bad thing. I sold that house and actually made a crap load of money. But it still begs the question, old versus new, which is better? The first factor to consider, cost, right? I mean, they're both got to be charging something, old versus new. This comes from Realtor.com. It says, on average, a newer home is 10 to 20% more expensive than a similar updated older home. While newer homes will cost less to maintain initially, the cost of building materials will drive up the cost of buying them. And let's be honest, I think we've all had our fair share in 2021 of what's happened to the building costs with lumber, and basically any part of a house has gotten like really, really expensive, and prices have come down, they've normalized somewhat, but in general, newer is going to mean more money.
I guess this means more money, more problems for you. Yeah.
And yet there is something to say about vintage, right? Just ask any hipster that sports one of those really cool beards.
Days of the hipster beard are over.
It's like old classic cars, there's something kind of cool about them. With old homes, the second consideration is quality. And check it out. Vintage homes tend to have better quality construction. Established homes are built to last. For example, older homes built with plaster are stronger than the drywall construction of today's homes. Man, it's like when you go down to like that historical district where you live and you see like the vintage older homes, look at the craftsmanship, right? I mean, sometimes they have like nice really wood trellises that are like built into the eaves, and you know, they put more effort into, you know, the door and the everything. Like some of that stuff you just don't get with new homes these days. Number 3, you definitely have to consider location. Remember, that old home was built probably near the city center, and you got the new stuff that's being built in the suburbs outside of town. Older homes are often in more established locations. Consider school district, crime rate, and proximity to stores, churches, and public places. Whether old or new, a good location will improve the rental rates of your property. And so it's interesting, right? You've got some people that are like, well, you know, all the action is happening right there at City Center, even though it was built a really long time ago, and that's very, very desirable. Meanwhile, there are other people that are saying, hey, guess what? Post-pandemic world, I don't really have to go into an office anymore. I don't mind the commute as much because, let's be honest, there isn't one. So I'm going to move actually a little bit outside of town. Maybe I'm going to pick up some more land. Maybe it's going to feel a little bit more rural. You know, basically, you've just got different strokes for different folks. Number 4, let's talk about lot size, right? There are some people that are like, Kris, I want a house with a really big yard. And there are other people who are like, yikes, big yard equals maintenance. Those newer homes, they're often built on a smaller lot. Lot size tends to be larger on older homes. New construction favors bigger homes on smaller lots. So odds are that the newer the home, the more square footage it has, while the older the home, the larger the yard. And I think this comes down really just to like personal preference, what's important to you. I do think it's important to note that when it comes to valuing a property, land has like a set value. So the more land, that's gonna drive the price up. But on a house, if you've got more square footage, like on a newer home, that and the cost of new construction is also gonna drive that price up because someone says, hey, there's more house here for me to live in. All right, Kris, but what appreciates better? What goes up more in value? Is it an old home or is it a new home? This is again from Realtor.com. When you choose to buy in a growing community, your home's value will appreciate in pace with the comparable homes here. As a result, newer homes tend to be in developing areas and experience faster appreciation than older homes. This is called the path of progress, right? Like as you drive around your city, where's everything moving? Have they like built out some really great new megaplex and new theater and there's new stores and new restaurants and they're building out this huge massive subdivision? Well, that area is probably going to appreciate faster with each developing phase of that neighborhood, more so than the older neighborhood downtown. Not so fast there, Sonny Jim. Don't forget that old homes come with their fair share of repairs. Like if you buy an older home, there could be some deferred maintenance, right? I mean, if you buy a home in the 50s, what kind of like copper wiring were they using back then? And in plumbing today, aren't they using now PVC? They're using literally a different technology. And so as things break, like sometimes you have to update entire systems, that can become quite costly. On a new home, guess what? You shouldn't have a lot of deferred maintenance. If you got a warranty on that and the builder's like, yep, we built that in the last 3 years and you probably shouldn't have a roof problem for the next 15 or 25 years. You know, your furnace, it's up to date, it's great. You're probably not gonna have a problem with your swamp cooler. You know, the carpet shouldn't need to be replaced tomorrow as long as you're good to it. And before I put all 7 of these in a chart and do the final comparison, let's talk about rental rates. What is going to rent stronger? What's going to have a better cash flow? What's going to make you more money? Is it an old home or is it a new home? Check it out. Landlords tend to fetch a stronger rental rate on a newer, more modern home. Conversely, an old home in a very established district can also sometimes demand the highest rates, although often the latest comforts and amenities are not included. Sure, you're going to find the exception sometimes with something older in an old district, but most older homes are not in like that nice old downtown district. I would say in general, newer homes are going to fetch the stronger rental rate. Let's play a game.
I want to play a game.
What's going to win, old or new? Well, we talked about cost, and we know that old homes literally can cost less than new homes, so some might see that as a green check mark. Similarly, on quality, however, old is going to beat out new unless you really like that new look and you don't care so much about the quality. When it comes to location, I don't know, that's a toss-up. I feel like you can win on both of those. That really does come down to preference. Lot size, however, if you're looking for something bigger, then old is likely going to deliver that to you. Appreciation, however, new is likely going to take the cake because I'm assuming that we're developing in the path of progress where people want to go. Repairs, new is definitely going to win versus old that's going to have some of that deferred maintenance. And then finally on rental rates, new is also going to take the cake. It looks like 4 green check marks to 4 green check marks. And if you were kind of curious what I believe and do as an investor, let me show you. You know, it's interesting. Ultimately, you've got to ask yourself, what's really more important? And is it you as a buyer who's trying to find a home for you and your family, or are you focusing on the investment nature of the property and what's going to make you more money? Well, I'm going to tell you that my days of buying old homes, it's over. The amount of deferred maintenance and the work and the headache, if I had to like say, wow, which one of those considerations there skews the data heavily, dude, it comes down to those repairs. You can easily knock out all of your profits, all of your cash flow for the year with just one single problem. My very first property I ever bought, I bought it and I didn't know, and it wasn't disclosed to me that there was a belly in the sewer. And that meant that the poop going down into the pipes from the toilets couldn't slope down underneath the ground in the street. They actually came back up before they went down because there was a root that pushed the pipe up. Guess what that meant? It meant that the poop would flow back into the house. And can you imagine cleaning feces off of the ground everywhere? Talk about disgusting. And I learned that that was a $7,000 problem that I had to fix. I had to literally pay someone to dig up the street, dig into the concrete. I had to use some type of special fill material that was approved by the city. We had to take out the tree. We had to, basically put the entire line in. And that $7,000, that hurt as a brand new investor a couple years into that deal, thinking, man, first of all, I do not like getting poop phone calls. Second of all, I don't like an unexplained $7,000 bill that I can't go back to the seller on because this thing is so old. Who do you really blame, right? I mean, big problem. So repairs for me as an investor definitely skew me towards newer property. So you might see 4 green check marks and 4 green check marks as like stalemate, which one wins? If you're the investor, look at the check mark line item. Right now, I'm going to tell you right now that repairs, that affects your P&L, your profit and loss, whether you do or don't make money. Your rental rates, again, that's the profitability of buying it as an investment in the first place. The appreciation is a huge factor. And then of course, with old, when it comes to the cost, you could get a better deal, but in the long run, is it really going to make sense? Truth is, most properties that I buy have been built inside the last 2 decades. They're year 2000 and newer. And while I do have exceptions in some markets, I tend to favor newer or completely remodeled and fully updated product because those homes, they're just gonna perform better for me and they're gonna make me more money. Check it out. I got a gift for you today. I wrote this book as a guide to help you make your first $1 million in real estate. And if you like the information that I shared on today's video, this book goes even deeper into a simple 5-step system of how you find the right property in the right neighborhood and you do the right things with it and how you get that thing to be a cash cow and print dollar bills for you. If you want to know what that looks like, this is a gift for you today. You just got to click the link below, grab a free copy. You're going to cover a little bit of shipping and handling so that my team can send it out to you. But take this knowledge as hundreds of thousands others have and use it to get yourself set up financially. Check it out, whether you get an old home or a new home, did you know that you're not supposed to pay it off? I know, right? Like your parents, teachers, ecclesiasticals, they've all said, stay out of debt. Debt is of the devil. Get that thing paid off. And I'm here to tell you that that might be one of the worst financial decisions you ever make. It's a little controversial, but I made a video about it and you should watch it. Weaker, will it have problems that I don't need, consequences that I don't even know? Bottom line, Yeah.